The Glimwood slept in a hush of moss and moonlight, but deep inside its heart a single flower was fading, calling on the forest with a voice of petals. Only one small listener stirred. Bulbasaur, shy and uncertain, turning his head toward a whisper he could almost feel in his leaves. He had never left the safe grove before, but the flower's ache tugged at something brave beneath his doubts. Fireflies gathered like tiny lanterns, weaving a faint trail through roots and ferns, offering more light than words could give. Bulbasaur followed without promises, every step a quiet pact. I will try, even if my feet tremble. Around him, the Glimwood listened and held its breath, as if the whole forest leaned in to watch a small heart learn to beat louder. The path grew narrower, roots like ribs and fog like whispers. Each step tested Bulbasaur's smallness against the forest's vastness. Shadows enlarged into shapes that mocked his courage. Murmurs that sounded like laughter in the leaves. A flock of Murkrows swooped low, their calls like teasing questions, testing whether Bulbasaur would turn back. He flinched, then steadied, remembering the quiet plea of the flower and the tiny lanterns that still showed in the way. Each step grew braver, not because he became bigger, but because he chose to keep moving when fear tugged his vines. Beyond a bramble thicket, the forest opened into a hollow of shadows and a bitter scent. The first sign that something was wrong. There, under ragged tarps and a flickering lantern, a single grunt worked a cruel hush into the earth, spilling a strange, oily gleam into the soil. The Glimwood's glow dimmed where the toxins pooled. Leaves curled like letters in a sorrowful script. Bulbasaur froze at the hollow's edge, heart pounding like a drum beneath his seed. The sight felt like an accusation and a plea all at once. The grunt noticed him and sneered, a small shadow puffing up as if to scare away any little hero who dared intervene. Fear flared in Bulbasaur, but beneath it a different feeling warmed. Not size or strength, but a quiet insistence to protect what could not speak for itself. He stepped forward, a single small silhouette against the grunt's lantern, and the whole hollow seemed to hold its breath once more. Bulbasaur's vines trembled, then surged not with fury, but with intention. He did not lash out to hurt. He would weave. A frenzied vine whip leapt from his bulb, not to strike a blow, but to wrap, to bind, to make a living net out of green and will. The grunt struggled as roots and tendrils braided gently but firmly around his hands and tools, rendering toxins useless under a green embrace. Bulbasaur breathed through his leaves, drawing something ancient from the soil and sun, a quiet glow pooling at his seed's core. He gathered the light, a soft synthesis rising like dawn, and the glow flowed along his vines into the poisoned earth. The toxins hissed and yielded, not with a final scream, but with a sigh, as life braided itself back into the ground. At the center of the hollow, the Glimwood Flower shivered like a held breath, then inhaled Bulbasaur's light and unfolded its petals. A wash of radiant bloom spilled outward, spilling warmth over roots, leaves, and the trapped grunt, who blinked at the sudden mercy of sunlight. The forest exhaled in a chorus of rustling leaves and returning glow, little scabs of darkness smoothing into fresh green. Bulbasaur felt something shift inside him. Doubt, like a thin fog, thinned and lifted until only steady, simple faith remained. The grunt, freed and humbled, buried his tools and watched as the forest forgave more easily than it forgot, learning in the light of Bulbasaur's choice. Under the Glimwood's renewed canopy, fireflies danced like punctuation marks of joy, and Bulbasaur walked home feeling larger not in size, but in the courage he carried.